Hi everybody, this is Arash and we are solving HackerRank Python preparation challenges. The next one is called collections.Counter and it is categorized as easy. Let's start it. Alright, first of all it has introduced the counter option from collections module in Python. You can read it, but basically we are going to manage some kind of shoe store. We are going to check if every item in the input is available or not. If it is, we can sell it and grab the money from the customer. Otherwise, it simply doesn't exist, so we don't perform the purchase. Alright, let's write down the code. I'm going to delete the comment in the right side. First of all, I'm going to write what was the module. It was from collections import counter. After that, I'm going to get x from input, so x is equal to int of input. It is number of total items in our store. After that, I should get every item from the input. So I write down, for example, my list is equal to list of map of integer from input dot split. In this line we are getting x numbers from the input. We convert them to integer with map functions, then we return it back to list form and store it in my list. After that, we need to get, for example, 6 orders from the customer. So number of orders is something like n, so I write down n is equal to int of input. Then for every order I should get 2 numbers, so I write down 4, for example, underscore in range n. I chose underscore for it because we don't need the index. For underscore in range n, every time get 2 numbers, for example x and y from input, so x and y are equal to map of input dot split to integer. Then for every item I should calculate whether if it exists in our counter or not. So let's create a counter from my list. For example, I name it my counter and it's equal to counter of my list. This generates something like this from the list in input. Alright, my counter is equal to counter of my list. Then for every x and y from the input, check whether that exists in our counter or not. It is basically a Python dict. So if for example, let's create item. Item is equal to or for example number number is equal to counter of x. So number is the count of x in our counter. After that, if our number is greater than 0, it means it exists in our store, so you can for example decrement it by 1, so counter of x could be decremented by 1, and we should add the money as a revenue. So I create another variable called revenue is equal to 0 in the beginning, and after purchasing an item I increment the revenue by y, which is the price that a customer pays for that item. Otherwise, it is a situation where it doesn't exist in our dict and we don't need to do anything, so I simply write down pass, and we also could delete these two lines, we don't need them. And in the end I should write print revenue. Alright, let's run the code. Okay, it is telling us that something is not right. It is telling that type error greater or equal is not supported between instances of this and integer. Alright, I might have written something wrong. First of all, I'm thinking that I don't need this counter. I don't need this number. I can directly write down counter of x here. After that, what else do we need to do here? If counter of x is greater than 0, counter of x minus equal to 1, and increase revenue by y by y. Let's run the code again. It is still wrong, and oh, I found out what's the problem. Its name wasn't counter, its name was my counter. It was wrong name, sorry, it was my mistake, and this is correct. Let's submit the code to check all of the test cases. Test case 1 is still checked and all of them correct. Alright guys, this was Arash. Thank you for watching my video. See you next time.